Welcome back to the Move Better project. Today we're going to work on ankle mobility, specifically dorsiflexion, and you're going to need a Voodoo band / floss band for this one. So dorsiflexion, if you think with your foot on the floor and what we might call closed chain, is your ability for your knee to go forward over your toes while your heel stays on the ground. You can see what happens as I get to the end of my dorsiflexion range of motion, my heel lifts up. Now that's what we see a lot with people in squatting. So the number one problem that most people have with squatting is that as they come down, they run out of ankle flexibility at some point, and then their back's gonna jump out and they're gonna wanna fall backwards onto their butt. So if that's you, here is a quick mobilization you can do with the Voodoo band to improve your dorsiflexion range of motion. So here's what I'm gonna do. Here's our plan. We're gonna start right behind the ball of the foot, and hopefully yours is a little more moisturized than mine, but don't worry about that. I'm gonna start right there, and then I wrap around, and once you get that first wrap, boom, then it's gonna stay, and I'm gonna wrap up just to the front of the heel here. Tension, when the first time you do this, be careful, because if you wrap it too tight, your foot's gonna cramp up and you're gonna wanna take the band off immediately. But that last wrap on the sole of my foot is going just in front of the heel there. On the other side, you might not have a beautiful Haglund's deformity like I have that shows you where your calcaneus ends and your Achilles begins, but you should hopefully be able to feel where that difference is. And we want that first wrap on the other side to go just right at the very bottom of the Achilles tendon there. And then we're just gonna continue all the way up. Just tie it off. All right, so starting off, I'm gonna do a little joint mobilization here. You can think of the ankle joint. These two bones here are called the malleoli, medial and lateral malleolus. And the fibula's on this side, tibia's on this side, and they kind of come down and form this shape. And the talus, which is this top bone here, is like that. It's called the talocrural joint. So as I go into dorsiflexion like this, that means that those leg bones, shank bones here, have to glide over. So if I want that joint to move a little bit better, I'm gonna push the talus back as I do dorsiflexion. So here's what that looks like. I'm gonna put my hand right here on top. I'm gonna grab hold of the talus. If you push down, you'll feel a bone right there. And that's what we want. And I'm gonna grab that, and I'm just gonna kind of stabilize the talus as I push my knee forward. So from the side, what that looks like is I'm grabbing my talus, stabilizing, and I'm just driving my knee forward. And you can see my heel's coming up a little bit, that's fine. I wanna generally keep it down, but you're not gonna know you're at the end of your range unless that comes up a little bit. So maybe I do 10 of these, something like that. You should be able to feel that joint getting a little bit, right into the end of your range of motion. So that's number one. Number two, I wanna get into the end of my dorsiflexion range. My knee is as far forward as I can, and then I'm actually gonna flex, or rather extend, at the big toe. So my big toe is staying planted on the ground, and I'm pressing forward, and that's gonna be a big stretch. That muscle that flexes the big toe comes up behind the malleolus, and it goes all the way up the back of the shin. So you should feel a stretch going up into your shin with that one. So that's what that looks like. All right, then I'm going to go into plantar flexion just to hit the other direction. I'm gonna sit on my heels. So if you're stiff in the front of the shin, like many people are, you might just start to work on getting the top of your foot, the top of your ankle down toward the ground. If you're a little bit more flexible, you might be able to sit all the way back, rest some weight on your heels. And then the last step would be going into sort of over pressure. I'm just lifting my shin, my tibia up while the top of my foot stays on the ground. So mobilizing into a little bit of extra plantar flexion there. All right, and then the last thing I want to do is just come into working on dorsiflexion with my knee extended. So this is kind of my down dog position here, capturing some gastroc as well as soleus, and I'm just pushing my heel towards the ground, trying to extend my knee. Getting as much dorsiflexion out of that, and just keeping my knee locked here, doing a couple little calf raises, and each time I'm trying to pull my heel down as close to the ground as I can. So, did that, band comes off, get out of here. Okay, so I can tell afterwards, you know, just my own feeling, I can feel that my knee goes a little bit farther forward. I can compare one side to the other, and you might not be able to tell on the camera, but I can definitely feel this side feels much more stiff. When I squat, what I notice is that one knee has a much easier time getting forward. So if I squat down, I can see it's a huge difference in ankle mobility on either side. So if you're doing squats or single leg squats or working on ankle stuff, do this first, because by doing that mobilization, you've bought yourself a lot of extra dorsiflexion. And then when you do your squats, you'll have more range of motion, and then your body's gonna get used to using that range of motion, and that helps you keep it. So, little Voodoo band ankle mobilization, working your dorsiflexion. Let me know how it goes in the comments. See you next time.